Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of On Hakko. My name is Kenta, and the topic for today will be about preheaters. So for today's webinar, I'll be going over preheaters, what's the purpose of preheaters, why you need to use preheaters, how it's useful, and also go over the different types of preheaters that we have available here at American Hakko. And out of the preheaters, I'll pick up on a couple products, the FR-830 and the 870B, and show you how to go over the basic operation and the system parameters. But before we get into that, so preheaters, what is a preheater? Why do you need to use a preheater? I'll talk briefly about that. Preheaters basically is to heat up your PCBs or your boards from the bottom side to help assist your soldering or desoldering process. And that's because a lot of these boards nowadays, they're a lot larger, they're a lot heavier, thicker, they have large ground planes, they have large heat sinks attached to them, and the design of the circuitry is in such a way that they're designed to take heat away from specific areas. So in those cases, hitting the joint with a soldering iron or a desoldering nozzle from the top side is not enough. You need to assist it with a little bit of heat from the bottom side, and that's where the preheaters come in handy, very handy when you do so. So again, the purpose of preheater, heat the boards from the bottom side, saturate the heat of the board, and it makes your soldering, desoldering, rework process that much easier. Okay. Now, the different types of preheaters that we have here at American Hakko. We have several different types of preheaters available, starting with one on my very right. This is the FR-860. It's actually a preheat plate. So the entire plate heats up. And what the preheat plate is mainly used for is when you have boards that are, say, they're embedded in like a aluminum substrate or some type of metal casing where you need to preheat the entire casing of the substrate. The preheat plates come in very useful. So that's the FR-860 preheat plate. And over here we have the FR-830. This is our basic hot air preheater. It's the FR-830. Right in front of me we have one of our IR preheaters. It's called the FR-870B. It's a small 2-bank IR preheater. And over to my left is the larger 4-bank IR preheater. It's called the FR-872. So these are the different types of preheaters that we have here at American Hakko. And for today's episode, I'm going to pick up on the FR-830 and the 870B, just because those are two of the most popular products as far as preheaters are concerned. Now let's get right into the FR-830. I'll go ahead and flip this around, give you guys a better view, plug it in, and show you guys how to use them. So with the FR-830, you want to use it together with, say, couple of our Omnivices, like I have here set up here. They're called the C1390C Omnivices. You attach them to the circuit boards, and then you place, here's the nozzle of the preheater, and you can move around the nozzle location to your desired location. Okay, and as far as the operation goes, so here you go, on-off switch, temperature dial, start-stop button. Okay, on-off switch, self-explanatory, right? On, turn it on. Once you turn the unit on, you'll see a green LED lamp right here. That means it's ready to use. And the dial switch, you just set it to your desired temperature setting. You can set it anywhere from 150 C all the way up to 300 C. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up to 250. And once you have made your desired selection, you just hit the start button. And you'll now notice that the green LED has turned into a solid red. When that is a solid red, that means that the heaters are on, it's ramping up to its temperature. Once that solid red, you see that it's now turned into a flashing red. That flashing red means that it has reached its set temperature of 250 C, and that is the temperature coming out of this nozzle right here. Again, it's a hot air nozzle. So you can always verify the the hot air temperature coming out of the nozzle. If you have a thermometer. This is our FG-100B, and I have a Type K thermocouple attached to its end. And the way you measure the hot air temperature is you want to place your thermocouple about a millimeter above the nozzle. And then I have it set to 250, and you can see the temperature is right about 250. Okay, so it works. And then once the hot air is blowing, again, you want to set your nozzle underneath your board to your desired location. Okay, once you're done using it, hit the stop button. You'll see that the flashing red is now a flashing green. At this point, the heaters are turned off, but the fan is still running to cool itself off. So you don't want to turn off the unit just yet. You want to wait till that flashing green turns into a solid green. And at that point, it lets you know what the solid green means, that it's cooled off sufficiently. So at that point, you can turn the FR-830 off. Okay, so that's the FR-830, very basic hot air preheater, pretty popular amongst our preheaters. So I'm going to keep that running while I move on now to our other preheaters. It's called the 870B. It's our IR 2-bank IR preheater, FR-870B. What do I mean by 2-bank? 2-bank means that there's just two sides to it. One side on the left and one side on the right, with each side consisting of 3 lamps on the left, 3 lamps on the right. There's 2 sides. That's why you see a total of 6 heating lamps with the FR-870B. Now let me just point out before I get started with the 870B that the FR-870B and the FR-872 that I have over here, they have the same features and benefits, the same temperature setting range of 50 to 200 C when you're using in thermocouple mode, the same parameter settings. That's why I'm going to use the 870B to get into detail of those, but you could apply that same knowledge to the 872. Again, the 872 is just a larger version of the 870B, a 4-bank preheater compared to the 2-bank preheater. Okay. Now let me put this board back in and flip this guy around, and let me plug it in. And before I get started, let me just really quickly point out I do have a Type K thermocouple attached to my board here, which is connected to the preheater right here. Okay. So I'm going to place my board back in its location. Okay. Here we go. Basic operation. On-off switch here. Turn it on. Right off the bat, you'll have two displays, one on your left, one on your right. It says PS, that's power save mode. Another way to say that is like standby mode. That's your setting display. And over here you have your thermocouple. TC means thermocouple. That's your thermocouple display. That thermocouple I had attached to the board is now reading 26 degrees Celsius. That's what our room temperature is here inside of the studio. Okay. A few different ways you can use our IR preheaters, like our 870B. There's a power mode and there's a thermocouple mode. That's the most popular way I see people use the preheaters. So let's go ahead and show you how to use each of those modes. So there's power mode, thermocouple mode, and auto mode. You can toggle through each of the different modes by pressing the mode button that you see here. So I press it once, it goes to thermocouple, press it again, it goes to auto power mode, press it again, it goes to auto thermocouple, and now I'm back at power mode. Okay, so in power mode, that's how you toggle through the modes. After that, if I press the start button once, it'll give me a quick view of what my setting is at power mode. In power mode, your display is in percentages of power. So if I want to change it, what I did now is I press and hold the start button and my setting is now flashing. That means 50% of power. I have the choice for anywhere from 0 all the way up to 100% of power. Say I want to use it at 100%. I hit the start button to confirm my value and just press the start button. And now my heater lamps are working at 100%, and you'll be able to see that. And zoom out, you can see that the heater lamps are glowing red, and that is at 100%. If you want to see what, say, 50% looks like, you can just press down and hold the start button. Again, the display will flash, and then use the dial now to go down from 100 to 50. Hit the start button again, and that's what your 50% power looks like. Okay, and I think you'll also notice that the thermocouple measurement went from 27 degrees Celsius to right now it's measuring 41. Okay, so that's how you use power mode. I'm going to go ahead and stop this now at this point. Power mode, one way to use it. The other most popular way I see people using our 870B and 872 preheaters is with thermocouple mode. To get into thermocouple mode, you just have to press the mode button again. To get down to thermocouple mode, highlight it, make sure you're highlighting it, and make sure you have your thermocouples attached here, and they're attached to your circuit board here. Okay. So once you have thermocouple attached, thermocouple connected to your board, again, start button, quick glance at your setting, press and hold if you want to make changes to your setting. Now in thermocouple mode, you have a selection to go from a minimum of 50 degrees Celsius all the way up to 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, so for demo purposes, right now we're already at 46 degrees Celsius, so I'm going to set it to 50 degrees Celsius, hit that start button to confirm, and again, all I have to do now is just start it. And then you'll see once again that the lamps will be going on, turning red, working. And let me just point out, here you go. The way this board is laid out, you can kind of see that I'm only using the right side of my preheater. I'm not using the left side of my preheater. So in this case, I can go ahead and go to this switch right here, turn that guy off, and it turns off the power to these three lamps on the left-hand side. I'm only using the right-hand side. So you have that choice over here with the heater selector. Okay, and now you can see that the temperature of the thermocouple, which is monitoring my board temperature, has now gone up to 53. It'll probably go up to like 53, 54, and then at that point it's still regulating, trying to keep itself at 50 degrees Celsius, which is my set temperature. That's the really benefit of using the thermocouple mode, is that you're able to monitor and keep track of how hot your board is running. Make sure it's not getting too hot. Okay, so so let me go ahead and turn this off at this point. That's the basic operation, the basic how to use, how most people use the FR-870B. There is another way that you can use the 870B. The way I described now, which is it's kind of like a manual operation. There's also a automatic or semi-automatic mode of operation that you can use. And with automatic operation, what you can basically do is there's 3 steps, and for each step you can input a temperature setting or a power setting along with a timer setting for step 1, step 2, step 3. So you're kind of creating like a small mini profile. So it allows you to put in a timer setting. So once you press start, it'll go through its cycle, and at the end of the cycle, it'll turn itself off. So you're making a mini profile, and you're able to store up to 10 different profiles for each auto power mode and auto thermocouple mode. And I could get into a little bit more detail on how to set each system up on each power mode and thermocouple mode. But for today's webinar, it's going to take up a little bit too much time. So if you need more information on that, just refer to our user manual. You can find that on our webpage, the 870B or the 872s. Within the user manual, I believe it's in section 5 of the user manual. So please refer to that if you want to learn more about that. The other important thing I want to go over with our IR preheaters is getting into the system parameters. Because sometimes I get questions from customers asking me, my preheater is not getting hot, it's not working as it's supposed to. And I come to find out that they're not working in the right units. They thought they were working in Celsius, but they're actually working in Fahrenheit, or vice versa. So a quick way you can confirm that is to go into the system parameters. Okay, and the way you do that is first you want to turn off your 870B and press and hold the mode button and turn the unit on. That'll get you into the system parameters. Parameter 1 right off the bat, you see that parameter 1 is flashing, and you see C. That means you're currently working in Celsius. Okay, so that's a quick way to just verify what unit of temperature you're actually working in, Celsius or Fahrenheit. That's a definite, you need to know that, okay? And if you find out that you're working in Celsius and you want to work in Fahrenheit, really easy. Just select parameter 1 by hitting the star button. That'll get you into parameter 1, and you see that the C now is flashing. And now from here you just use the dial and you can toggle through between Fahrenheit or Celsius. Okay, and if you want to go to Fahrenheit, just move it to Fahrenheit, F, and hit the star button to confirm. And now you're back in the parameter selector. Parameter 1 is temperature display. Parameter 2 is temperature upper limit setting. Parameter 3 is temperature lower limit setting. Parameter 4, this is an important one, so let me get into this. Parameter 4 is auto shut off timer setting. So again, to get into that parameter, hit the star button, and your digits will start to flash. You have a selection of going from 0 all the way to 30. That's 0 minutes or 30 minutes. So once I hit 30, what that will now do is after I hit start, the unit will kill the power to the heater after 30 minutes. So that's very useful. It's a nice safety feature to make use of, because say I start the unit in thermocouple or power mode and I forget to turn the unit off, then after 30 minutes the station will kill the power to the heaters. Again, very useful safety features to take advantage of. So let's go through the other parameters real quick. Parameter 5, just keep that at 0. Parameter 6, that's kind of like your password lockouts on your soldering stations, like the 951 and 203. If you want full access, just keep it on C1. If you want restricted access, then there's a selection of going to C2 or C3. I always like to keep it on full access, so I keep it on C1. And the very last parameter is parameter 16. This is your ramp rate control. With the preheaters, you have the ability to select your ramp rates anywhere from 1 degree C per second to 2, all the way up to 3 degrees C per second. So if you get into there again with the star button, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case, 2 is 1 degree C per second, 3 is 2 degrees C per second, and 4 is 3 degrees C per second. I like to work at 3 degrees C per second. I can keep it on 4, hit the star button. And again, this is the same with all of our stations. Once you make your selections in your system parameters, just make sure at the very end you press and hold the star button to make sure yes to confirm your changes, or no, you want to make additional changes. In this case, I'm done, so yes, hit the star button, and here we go. Right off the bat, you see that my thermocouple reading, before I went into the system parameters, it was about 50 degrees Celsius. Now, since I changed the units to Fahrenheit, now it's about 98 degrees, 97 degrees Fahrenheit, and now if I don't have the station on, so it's just cooling itself off. Okay, so that's the system parameters. You have additional controls that you have by getting into the system parameters. I know I didn't get into detail on every single parameter, but again, all of this is in the user manual. Please refer to the user manual if you need any additional information. I believe for the system parameters, it's in section 6 of the user manual, so please refer to that. One last thing I want to go over for today's webinar: heater replacement. The carbon filament heater lamps that are used on the IR preheaters, they do go out from time to time. So you need to replace them, and the replacement process is fairly easy. When you're doing any kind of maintenance on the preheaters, you just want to make sure that everything is turned off, the cords are disconnected, and everything is cooled off, okay, before you work on them. Okay. So there's a couple of screws up on the top, and there's a few additional Phillips head screws on the side. Once you take those off, you'll be able to take the actual cover off, like so. And then once you take the cover off, this is what you see, and the mesh grill is what you want to take off. You just want to remove this, and the mesh grill is attached out this corner, so don't just yank it off, just gently lay it to the side somewhere, and then from there you'll have access to your heater lamps. The heater lamps actually work in a series. So what does that mean? It means that for the case of the 872, there's 4 zones, so 3 lamps for this zone, 3 lamps for this zone, here and here. So when one zone goes out, since the lamps work in a series, it doesn't necessarily mean that all 3 of the lamps have burned out. It could just mean that one of the lamps has burned out and it's affecting the entire series. Okay, so make sure when one zone goes out, just check all of the lamps. You'll be able to see that the heater filament is broken, visibly broken when the lamps do go out. So keep that in mind. So in this case, say this particular lamp right here, say this lamp has burned out and I need to replace this lamp. Okay, you want to make sure you're wearing gloves. Don't touch them with your bare hands because you don't want to get oil onto these lamps. Oil may cause, if you get oil on a specific spot, it's going to cause it to heat up and kind of burst at that spot. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. Make sure you wear gloves when you're dealing with the lamps. Okay, the way you remove them, very easy. There's these ceramic ends of the heater lamps. You can just move them out to the side, and you want to grab the lamps by its end, and then take them off like so. Okay, and once you remove the heater lamps, you want to grab a new heater lamp. Again, don't grab them by the middle, grab them by the ends, and you'll see, indentations or notches on either side that fit into these sockets. Okay, and also you'll find a protrusion on the heater lamps in the middle. You want to make sure that part is facing down when you install them. And then just install them in the reverse manner. You fit one side in, like so. And then again, pull back on the socket ends, and then gently insert them. And then that's it. Fairly easy replacement process. Once you've replaced the heater lamps, you want to put the mesh grill on top. But while you have this open, maybe you want to clean also the tray itself. If it has any flux residue built up, it's a good time to do that also. And then you just want to make sure you fit your mesh grill back on top. And then after you do that, just grab your cover, bring the cover back on, and then just refasten your Phillips head screws up on top and onto the side. Again, fairly easy, very easy heater replacement process for the 870, and the same thing applies for the 870B. I just showed you on the 872, but the same process for the 870B. Fairly easy, but if you feel uncomfortable doing it, just reach out to us, and then we'll have you send in the unit for repair, and then we'll take care of that for you if you wish. Yeah, that's it. That's it for today's preheat episode. I hope I was able to go over some of the basic operation on the FR-830 and the 870B. So I hope you guys found it helpful. But before we go for today's episode, I would like to bring out a very special guest for today's episode. Here she is.
Kenta, where's your mask?
Right here.
Okay, good. Hi everyone, remember me?
Hi, Nicole.
Hi Kenta. Great episode today.
Thank you.
I want to make sure that I'm social distancing, keeping my mask on, staying safe. Hope everyone is safe out there. I will be taking a leave. I have some things to do. So that's it. I just wanted to drop in. Hope everyone is staying safe.
Thank you, Nicole. Good luck with your homeschooling. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you come back soon.
I will be back soon.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in about a month on the next episode. But until then,
Until then,
remember, keep your eye on Hakko.